LeBron James' son is a talented young baller. No, we're not talking about Bronny. Instead, we're talking about Bryce, who isn't the same media darling as his older brother, but is also worthy of the hype. Now, let's take a look at some of the things you probably didn't know about Bryce James. First up on the list, Bryce was a multi-sport athlete. Some of the best basketball players in history started out playing multiple sports. Even LeBron himself actually played wide receiver in football when he was in high school and got recruited by Division I programs. He could have probably been a star football player if he didn't become a basketball player. Like his father, Bryce also played multiple sports during his younger years. While basketball was always his top sport, he played soccer before focusing on hoops. But unlike LeBron, Bryce didn't play football. The younger James brother actually wanted to play football and even ice hockey. The problem is that LeBron was a bit too overprotective of his son. He didn't want Bryce to play those sports because of how risky and dangerous they are. If Bryce pursued those sports instead of basketball, he might have been a football player or even a freakishly tall hockey player. But in a parallel universe, he's probably pursuing an NFL or even an NHL career instead of following in his father's footsteps as an NBA player. It's actually crazy because Bryce is already taller than Bronny. Bronny James is getting more attention than any other young college star right now. As the eldest son of quite possibly the greatest basketball player in history, Bronny is a media darling, not because he is named after his father, but because he's the biggest chance to play in the NBA at the same time as LeBron himself. Both LeBron and the media want to see Bronny play with his dad to become the first father-son duo on the same team. But while Bronny may be attracting more attention from the media, he isn't as tall as his father. LeBron Jr. is around 6'4" and plays both guard positions. He may be the big brother in the James gang, but he isn't the tallest. That's because his younger brother is already the bigger brother. At the age of 16, Bryce is somewhere between 6'5" and 6'6". A few years ago, he was significantly shorter than Bronny at around 5'5", but Bryce hit a massive growth spurt that allowed him to reach his current height. Bryce may not have inherited his father's first name, but he's likely going to inherit his father's height. LeBron entered the NBA measured at 6'8" at the age of 18, but grew an inch. He's now measured at 6'9" without shoes on. It goes without saying that LeBron is quite tall, even in his position. On the other hand, his oldest son is 5 inches shorter than him. Luckily for Bryce, he's at most 4 inches shorter than his father. Bryce James is only 16 right now and is still in the middle of his growing years. He probably won't hit another massive growth spurt to make him reach 7 feet tall, but it's likely that he'll grow at most 2 more inches to come close to his father's height. Did you know Bryce is a shooting guard? For almost his entire career, LeBron James was listed as a small forward. But he can basically play every position because he has the size, athleticism, and skill that every position would need. Meanwhile, Bronny is more of a combo guard at 6'4". He has his father's basketball IQ, which makes him capable of playing point guard, but he also has enough size, athleticism, and skill to play shooting guard. In Bryce's case, he's listed as a shooting guard because he's somewhere close to 6'6". He has the right height for a possible NBA-level shooting guard, but he might eventually transition into the small forward position if he gets taller and bigger through age and training. Bryce's early training as a point guard before his growth spurt also allowed him to play the role of a big playmaker, which is currently the trend in the NBA today. With guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic standing at least 6'6", Bryce James might soon join them as one of the best big point guards in the NBA. Bryce split time between junior varsity and varsity as a sophomore. Bryce James didn't stand out early during his time at Sierra Canyon. Unlike his father, who was already a prodigy as early as his middle school years, Bryce needed to develop physically and mentally before he was ready for the varsity team. During his sophomore year with Sierra Canyon High School, he often split time between JV and varsity, appearing in 12 varsity games. He averaged 3.8 points during his time with the varsity team. Bryce's numbers don't pop out of the water, but it's likely because he's still in the middle of adjusting to his body after his massive growth spurt. He's still quite young as a junior and is likely going to improve his numbers by the time he gets to his senior year. According to Gilbert Arenas, Bryce could be the most intelligent in the James family. If there was something that made LeBron stand out in high school and during his NBA career, it was his basketball IQ. He already had an advanced basketball IQ during his teen years. With his insane intelligence as a basketball player, he knew how to read plays, make the right passes, and dissect the defense with his scoring or playmaking. Even if he wasn't 6'9", LeBron would have been a great point guard because of his basketball IQ. Former NBA All-Star Gilbert Arenas once worked out with both Bronny and Bryce James when they were younger. He talked a lot about how Bronny was like his father because he always made the right plays. He even said that Bronny was a bit too much like LeBron because he always tried to do things the right way instead of bending the rules and becoming more selfish. But the one thing that stood out in Arenas' statements regarding the James boys was his observation of Bryce's IQ. The younger James brother was a bit too young to handle Arenas' advanced drills, but the former NBA All-Star guard made him go through basic workouts such as pick and rolls. He was surprised about how Bryce was able to pick up things perfectly for his age. The younger brother made a few mistakes here and there, but Arenas saw that Bryce understood the basic concept of the workout and was able to show his advanced understanding of the game. Arenas claimed that Bryce could be the smartest out of the James trio.
Have you got the opportunity to do a workout with Bryce yet?
Very intelligent too. Like we'll do like pick and roll splits, and I'm gonna just mix it up. No matter what we did, he read it perfect every single time. He probably might be the smartest one.
That's quite impressive because LeBron is often considered one of the smartest basketball players of all time. And just like LeBron, Bryce James is also now signed with Clutch Sports. In the past, the NCAA was extremely strict when it came to student athletes and whether or not they should get compensated. But in 2021, the Supreme Court ruled that college athletes may now earn compensation for their name, image, and likeness. This gave rise to name, image, and likeness, or NIL contracts, which can be signed by student athletes so that they can now get compensated while they are still in school without breaking any of the NCAA rules. Knowing that his sons were going to get to college, LeBron allowed Bryce to sign with Clutch Sports. Normally, student athletes forego their NCAA eligibility the moment they sign with an agent. Luckily for Bryce, he is only signed with Clutch on an NIL contract, making it possible for him to still play college basketball while earning money. Clutch Sports is one of the biggest sports agencies in the world and was founded by Rich Paul, who has been one of LeBron's closest buddies since 2003. It makes sense that Bryce would sign with his father's friend's sports agency. LeBron and some of the biggest stars in the NBA and NFL are all under Clutch Sports. It might not take too long until Bryce finally gets a full contract with Clutch Sports as one of the biggest athletes in the entire world. Next up, Bryce James is one of the top prospects in California. The state of California has always been a hotbed for some of the best basketball talents in the entire country. Some of the biggest names in the NBA today grew up in California. To be ranked one of the top prospects in California means that a player has done something right to earn his ranking. According to 247 Sports, Bryce James is currently 19th in the entire state of California, making him one of the top 20 prospects in one of the best basketball states in the country. However, he isn't in the top 100 in the national rankings and is not even ranked in the top 20 at the shooting guard position. He still has a long way to go before he can become one of the best young stars in the country. In comparison, big brother Bronny finished his high school career ranked 19th in the entire country, but it took a while for Bronny to crack up to the top 20 in national rankings. It also helped that he has the same name as one of the greatest players of all time. Despite his somewhat mediocre national rankings, Bryce James has shown enough talent and potential to earn scholarship offers from notable Division I college programs. 3 of the schools interested in him are USC, Ohio State, and Duquesne. Big brother Bronny is already attending USC and is likely going to spend at least one more season with that program to get his stock up for the NBA draft. Bryce probably already knows a lot about USC from his brother's stories. If Bronny decides to stay long in USC, Bryce might want to go there to play with his older brother. There's still a good chance that bigger and better programs might offer him a spot in their roster if his rankings improve. But it's looking like USC, Ohio State, and Duquesne are the most notable programs that are interested in him at this point in his career. Just like most celebrities, Bryce James got pranked by a YouTuber and it went viral. He may already be a celebrity because of his fortunes and his father's status, but Bryce is still just a teenager. The younger James brother often goes out in public to do things that normal teens do. But the difference is that he has a bodyguard, Bryce is 6'6", and can easily be recognized by different people, including YouTubers. A YouTuber named Ken came up and just happened to find Bryce James in a Target and approached him to get a picture with him. The two posed for a photo, but Ken came up and just suddenly threw up gang signs out of nowhere. Bryce, of course, immediately recognized what the YouTuber was doing and did his best to contain his laughter by looking down at his phone. The YouTuber tried to convince him to join in and throw gang signs as well, but Bryce, despite his youth, politely declined.
Good. Go ahead, stick it that big. I'm a real blood, so you can throw a blood too.
Nah, we don't throw none of that.
Either he knew that he was getting pranked or that he simply did not condone gang violence at all. Or maybe even both. Good on the kid for that. There aren't a lot of teenagers who have the same grace under pressure that Bryce showed in that prank. He not only controlled his laughter in the middle of the prank, but also showed enough composure to stay cool and collected. The prank may have gone viral, but Bryce didn't do anything that would have ruined his reputation or gotten him into trouble. He may just be in high school, but he already acts mature for his age. Hats off to LeBron and Savannah for raising their kids right. Speaking of high school, Bryce James is constantly switching high schools. Bryce started his high school life in Sierra Canyon, which is the same school that his older brother went to. The brothers played on the same team for 2 seasons before Bronny left high school to go to college. Meanwhile, Bryce also left Sierra Canyon School to go to Campbell Hall in Studio City, California in April 2023. The younger James played for Campbell Hall for a few summer league games before announcing that he was going to leave to transfer to Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, California. But after spending 3 months with that school, he decided to return to his old stomping grounds in Sierra Canyon. Basically, he spent 7 months in 2 different schools after leaving Sierra Canyon before returning to the same school that he left. The constant switching may sound odd, but it's going to make sense why he transferred 3 times in a 7-month span. There's no confirmed reason why he initially left Sierra Canyon, but the rumor is that he and his family didn't like how he was playing more on the JV team than the varsity team. The transfer to Campbell Hall was a basketball move that would have allowed him to play with Chris Paul Jr., the son of CP3 himself. But when he transferred to Notre Dame, the reason was likely because he wanted to play with Mercy Miller, another high-profile high school standout. The problem was that he wasn't going to be able to play half of his junior season in Notre Dame due to the CIFSS's transfer rules. Because he never played a single game for Notre Dame, he was immediately eligible to play for Sierra Canyon after transferring back. He's since gotten more minutes after rejoining Sierra Canyon. As of the moment, it doesn't seem like Bryce is set to transfer to another school once more. He looks comfortable in Sierra Canyon as a junior. Of course, transferring before or during his senior year is probably out of the question because he needs stability before going to college. So the likely case is that he's going to graduate from Sierra Canyon next year before taking his talents to the next level. And for the last entry on our list, Bryce James will be eligible for the 2026 NBA Draft. Bronny is currently in his freshman season in college and will be eligible for the 2024 NBA Draft if he wants to become a one-and-done player. This is the exact same reason why there's a good chance that LeBron and LeBron Jr. are going to be the first father-son duo to play together at the same time in the NBA. Meanwhile, Bryce is currently in his junior year in high school and will be graduating in 2025. That means that he could potentially stay for only 1 season in college to become eligible for the NBA Draft by 2026. Of course, he could reclassify and enter the NBA Draft as early as 2025, but that doesn't seem likely. There aren't any indications that the James family is rushing Bryce's development. If that's the case, then he's going to graduate high school in 2025 to become eligible for the draft in 2026. If Bryce does go to college, it is likely that he won't be a one-and-done player. His current rankings and draft projections aren't high enough for him to convince an NBA team to draft him after just 1 year in college. It looks like it's going to take a while before Bryce joins the NBA, especially if he stays for 4 years. LeBron would have to be ancient in basketball years if he wants to play with both Bronny and Bryce in the NBA. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the video on the screen now to see more content like this.